Good morning. I'm Jim Rader. It's January 2019, and I'm going to present this talk about working with test result matches in your autosomal DNA. Autosomal DNA is called different things by different companies. MyHeritage just calls it a DNA kit. Family Tree DNA calls it a family finder. Ancestry calls it an Ancestry Everything test. And 23andMe calls it their Ancestry service. How accurate are your matches, and which ones are the most accurate to use in your genealogy? In genetic genealogy, a centimorgan is used to measure genetic distance. It's often used to imply distance along a chromosome, and we're going to now look at the chromosome browser. This is a part of a slide of a chromosome browser output, and you see a red line and an orange line. At the top you see 4 rows of data: the genomic position, the record ID, the segment size, and the number of SNPs. And the thing we're working with most often is the segment size, which in this case is 121 centimorgans. Here we've moved to a much more sophisticated tool, and it's showing us 6 people and how they compare to me. The first match on row 1 in red is a close relative. Match 2 in orange is another relative, and you'll notice that the red and the orange are opposite one another, but the orange is not as long. You'll also notice that the centimorgans and the top are quite a bit different. So let's see how good this stuff is according to the magazine. Scientific American recently ran, in October 15th of 2018, an article called "How Accurate Are Online DNA Tests?" done by a geneticist. He says the biggest of these are 23andMe and Ancestry DNA, both with more than 5 million users in their database. So let's go to isog.org. You can see the blue line in the center of the screen for the web address, and look at their wiki that shows comparison of testing companies. And sure enough, it shows the number of people in the database as of November 16th of this 2018. 23andMe had 5 million, over 5 million, and Ancestry.com has over 10 million, and the rest of them are following behind. First, a bit of Genetics 101. DNA is the code in your cells. It's the richest but most complex treasure trove of information that we've ever attempted to understand. If you map your entire DNA, you'll get 3 billion letters. DNA is arranged in around 20,000 genes, but they're not quite sure of that, as this whole thing is very experimental, and we're moving forward in time and learning more. There are 2 potential issues arising from the question of their results: the accuracy, and then how has it been interpreted. Some of it's done well, some of it's not done well, but it seems like most of it's done accurately. There have been some bizarre cases where people have sent in their DNA from their dog and the lab did not catch it. When it comes to ancestry, DNA is very good at determining close family relations such as siblings or parents, and dozens of stories are emerging that reunite or identify lost close family members are indeed criminals. For deeper family roots, these tests do not really tell you where your ancestors came from. They say where DNA like yours can be found on Earth today. Now let's go into a few thoughts about the problems of the Ancestry Everything test. I tried to add a few thoughts about the problems of this Ancestry Everything test to a group at the Roseville Genealogy Group in January. It was a pretty hot topic. 1 hour later, my group of 30 students were still discussing that topic, and were not on what we had intended to talk about. About half of the class did not understand what we were talking about because I did not lay out the background, which would allow them to understand the topic being presented. Watch for my upcoming posts to solve those problems. If you go to facebook.com and look for Roseville Genealogy Society, you'll see more information about the meetings and more meetings and which ones we've had since this has been recorded. And this is the YouTube video which will cover the content of our last meeting with hopefully more explanations so everybody can understand what we're talking about. And after that I will create another YouTube video which will explain what we're going to cover at the February meeting. So feel free to come and join the meetings of the Roseville Genealogy Group on the second Tuesday of February in Roseville, California. And if you want to see all of my videos, you can go to youtube.com/user/gemrader/videos. Ancestry saw a problem. They fixed it with what they call timber. And many people don't like what they did, and it's debatable whether what they did is valid. If you go to DNAexplained.com, category timber, the link on the bottom of this page, you can see a big long analysis with all kinds of examples and logical reasons why things are not as they should be. But what Ancestry did with this algorithm, they said there's places in your DNA where things are just matching too much. You shouldn't have that many matches. So we're going to discover which of those spots that a lot of people match on but don't match on genealogy. And we'll call those too matchy, and we'll take those spots out of our test. So after they've run timber, you have less matches because they removed all the ones they called were too matchy. And Ancestry is placed on their website at www.ancestry.com in their academy/course/DNA genetic genealogy an explanation of their method, which they call their scientific method. So what they're trying to do is say you on the left by yourself compared to all the other people who've taken the test. This shows more than 1 million members. It's now more than 10 million members. They find people who have matching DNA with you. They analyze it, and they estimate your relationship. Their mathematicians say that your first, second, and third cousin should match you at about 100% of the time. When you get to fourth and fifth cousins, it's down below half. And after sixth and seventh cousins, it's much lower. In other words, you're not likely to match an eighth cousin. And they also found amongst DNA circles large cliques of people where everyone shared DNA with everyone else, but there was no clear pedigree relationship. Notice pedigree relationship is showing a tree, like of genealogy, not DNA. So when you're finding actual matching segments because you're related, IBD it's called, with shared with other people the same segment, they say on first cousins 80% of the time you should share the same segments. On the second cousins only 60%, and on the third cousins only 15%. They further show that when you have 4 people testing, the numbers drop down, that first cousins should only share 40%, and the rest of them shouldn't share anything at all. So their hypothesis is, if identical segments are only IPS, meaning identity by state, meaning you're not related, so this chart is showing you This is the chart showing before and after. The central column that says matching V1 is before they run timber. Matching V2 is after they run timber. So the particular individual that had a lot of matches, 24,000, only had 3,000 after timber. If you go down the list, you'll see the ones down there below that had 3,000 only have 300 or 400 now. So generally, from Ancestry's point of view, this is good. This is getting rid of inaccurate matches. These two links are both from Ancestry. One is from their Academy section, the other one is from their Ancestry section. And each one will give you a whole lot more detail on what we just covered, should you want to dig into it deeper and get a deeper understanding. Okay, here's where we go into somebody that's actually looked at it in detail and put her 2 cents worth together with numbers of how it affected her genealogy. Roberta Estes has a website called DNAexplained.com, and she has all kinds of postings. She posts almost every day. So there's every year you see this is from 2015. You look at that link and you go to her website and you can get much more explanation of what she saw and why she thinks that things should be different. This new tree strategy is about finding evidence that you can use to further your paper genealogy or prove a genetic match. It's about utilizing Ancestry system to gather information in a bit of a different way to build an evidential case. Getting the most out of Ancestry, February 2, 2015 is when this was posted on her website. In the genetic genealogy community, we have beaten Ancestry to death about what they don't do. They don't give us a chromosome browser, and what they have and haven't done. But there are some things that Ancestry does really well. Records, for example, are one of those things, and I love those and hints, shaky leaves. Trees matter, and so does the size of the tree. DNA testing at Ancestry without having a tree is like flying blind. The best thing about Ancestry DNA and tree matching is that they do the heavy lifting for you by showing you which people match your DNA and have a common ancestor showing in a tree. Those are the shaky leaf. With no tree at Ancestry, I obviously had no shaky leaves because Ancestry had nothing to compare to. So I clicked on Family Trees on the toolbar and started a new tree. With me, the tester, I added 4 generations. That's only 30 people. Not too much to type, and I only added birth, death dates, and locations. Just so you know, I was wrong. I had a total of 41 shaky leaves. I was pretty happy for a while, until I started thinking, what if? Ancestry provides matching shaky leaves up to 10 generations, with you counted as a generation 1. So I began to wonder what adding another few generations would provide. I added another 4 generations, or at least as much as I could. My shaky leaves jumped to 48 immediately, so they had increased by 7. I was happy, and that's about what I expected, so I imagined my surprise when the next morning I checked and I noticed that I had 95 shaky leaf matches. 95. Wow. Now let's go to another website, another person who looks at this stuff seriously. Debbie Kennett has a website called Groovies, Cruwys, blogspot.com. Here's a discussion from that website, Cruwys, blogspot.com. Although 36% of my matches did not match either of my parents, the headline figure is not as gloomy as it might first appear. The vast majority of these non-matches were small segments under 10 centimorgans, and the lion's share of non-matches were very thin segments under 7 centimorgans. All matches sharing 19 centimorgans or more were shared with one of my parents, so this can be considered my personal safe zone, where matches are guaranteed to be valid. There were just 4 out of my 155 matches sharing between 15 and 19 centimorgans, which did not match one of my parents. The largest non-sharing match was 18.2 centimorgans. That meant that 87.5% of my matches in this range were valid. Below 10 centimorgans, the chance of one not sharing a match begins to increase exponentially. With the very small matches sharing 6 to 7 centimorgans, only 46% matched one of my parents. Blaine Bettinger, who wrote the book on this subject and who runs a website called thegeneticgenealogist.com, compared parent and child matches at Ancestry DNA. Now he has 16,000 matches. He shares 4,000, 25% with his mother, and 7,000, 44% with his father. A total of 5,000 are not shared with either his mother or father. These matches not shared by either parent are broken down like this. The largest match is 19.1 centimorgans. There's 8 at 15 centimorgans or more, 261 at 10 centimorgans or more, almost 2,000 between 7 and 10 centimorgans, and 3,000 between 6 and 7 centimorgans. So what does this mean to Blaine? He says the danger zone, meaning a match is guaranteed, is not guaranteed to match my mother or my father. In other words, they don't match either one of his parents, are those that are 10 centimorgans or less. They were not shared with either parent. The really dangerous zone, meaning the match is not likely to match my mother and or my father, is below 7 centimorgans, as 60% of my matches below 7 centimorgans were not shared with either parent. So now we're getting to what we actually wanted to talk about, but like many subjects, it takes a little more time to get ready for what you want to know. You need some background noise, background information. So we're going to talk about an Ancestry registered guest account. So here's the first slide we started with in January 8th, last month. What can you get for free from Ancestry.com? With a free account, you can access Ancestry's free databases. You can manage the results from your Ancestry DNA test. You can manage your family tree. You can message others and view educational videos. How do you get a free email address? How to use GEDCOM to move your family data around. Registered guests can do the following. Access free databases. If you have an if you have a DNA test, activate your DNA test. If you have a DNA test, view your DNA ethnicity estimate and DNA matches. View the DNA results of anyone who invites you to see theirs. Create, edit, and delete family trees. View educational videos in Ancestry Academy. Share trees with friends and family. View family trees to which you're invited. Respond to messages from other members. Post to the Ancestry message boards. And read tips from our experts on the Ancestry blog. So here's the last subject I want to tease you with. This author is a very academically solid person who says the way we're doing ethnicity estimates is wrong. He also says there is no race gene, and he also says there are 4 kinds of ethnicity in your DNA, and we need to be looked to find those 4 kinds before we try to find out specifics within those kinds. So this is just a tease, as were the last 2 slides. where we talked about GEDCOM and a bunch of other things we haven't defined. And so this helps me get ready for the next presentation. We'll cover this presentation at the meeting in February, and if we have time at the meeting, we'll go into the next presentation. But first, we want to make sure you understand all of the things we covered up until these last 3 slides. So let me know what you think. I look forward to your comments, and I look forward to working with you in the future. This is Jim Rader, looking forward to seeing you at the February meeting.